Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video day, and we're going to be talking about a potential trade for the Houston Texans to reunite with a former Houston Texan, a former Houston Texan stud, and probably is going to go down as either the best or the second best Houston Texans wide receiver of all time, DeAndre Hopkins. One of the biggest talks around in the NFL the last couple of days has been, what's happening with Hopkins. Well, besides the Lamar stuff that's been happening, the Lamar Jackson stuff that's been going on, and besides that, it's been, what are the Cardinals going to do with Hopkins? Where is he going? And it was reported that the Cardinals are looking for a second-round pick and a conditional pick, which could be like a fourth, and that could turn into a third if he does something or whatever, plays maybe a certain amount of games or plays a certain percentage of snaps or yards or touchdowns or whatever that may be. But so that's what they're looking for. And if not a conditional pick, a player in return for Hopkins. So let's go over why the Texans should or maybe do this. Let's go over the cons first. Why it could be a bad idea to trade for Hopkins. Just because of, how the Texans, they're not really in a state to trade their draft picks. And that's a little bit alarming, but it's okay. So let's go over what the Texans would give. So the Texans would give their second-round pick, which is the 33rd pick in this year's draft, and then a 2024 fourth-round pick that would turn into a third-round pick if Hopkins does a certain thing. So in that case, the Texans would give up possibly a third and a second, but the third is not a this year pick, which is better than it being. The third or the fourth would be a draft pick for next year, which is better than it being a draft pick for this year, because the Texans, they need to keep most of their draft picks. They can keep, because with the draft, they need all the talent they could get. So you add in Hopkins for a second and a conditional 2024 fourth round pick, conditional 2024 fourth round pick. You get in one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, besides Davante Adams. When Hopkins is playing, Hopkins was one of the best wide receivers last season. He only played half of the season. He missed the first 8 games, or 6 or 8 games he missed the first 6 or 7 weeks due to suspension. So, he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL besides Davante Adams, in my opinion. And I think that you add him in, your offense is even better. Your offense is looking even more decent than it already is, and you haven't done much. Just because of that number 2 pick you have and the looking of a new quarterback, whether it's someone you sign. We've heard rumors about Jimmy Garoppolo, whether you sign Jimmy Garoppolo or you draft C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young with that number 2 overall pick. And then you not only do you have that, but you have John Mechie returning to the offense. And you have so many draft picks to improve the offense. Not only that, but you have a lot of money in free agency to improve the offense. So the Texans' offense is going to look a little bit improved next season. And this is a way to improve it a lot, and that is for trading for DeAndre Hopkins. This is probably the best offer the Cardinals could get. They want a second rounder. I don't think a team's going to give them a first round pick. They want a second round pick. That's the best second round pick you could find. We have the second pick in the second round, and the first pick is the Steelers. I don't think the Steelers are a team that's going to be interested in DeAndre Hopkins. So in that case, that's the best second-round pick in this year's draft the Cardinals could get. You're also getting a conditional pick that could turn into a third or possibly even a second, just depending on what they make it. But, yeah, I think that it's going to be interesting to see if the Texans go after DeAndre Hopkins. Does he want to return here? I think he loved this city. I think he was a big Houston guy. Down the end, the problem was Bill O'Brien. And guess who's not the head coach anymore? Bill O'Brien. He's not the head coach anymore. We got a good coach with D'Amico Ryans, a guy who I wouldn't be surprised if Hopkins has to. He didn't play with them, but it was around his area. Hopkins got drafted around 2014, 2013. That's around the same time Ryans left. He could have played with him. I don't think so. I think D'Amico left right when Hopkins was coming in. So they miss each other's timeline just by a tiny bit. I think D'Amico left in like 2012 or 2013. Hopkins got drafted in like 2013 or 2014 or something. So they miss each other just by a bit. But they've been playing in the same division for a couple years now. Hopkins has been with the Cardinals. D'Amico was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. I'm sure they have a little bit of a relationship, so there could be some interest there. He likes the city of Houston. At the time, the problem was Bill O'Brien, the relationship there between Hopkins and O'Brien, and also the Texans' desire to pay Deshaun Watson instead of paying DeAndre Hopkins. I'm sorry, but the Texans chose Watson over Hopkins, and eventually that came to bite us in the ass. And honestly, now the Texans, they kind of have the money to possibly pay Hopkins if that comes to chance. If we have to pay him, we have the option. We have the money to pay him if we need to pay him. So it could work out. I don't know. There's so many teams that are probably would really go after him. I mean, really go after him. You got teams like the Bears and I've heard the Titans a little bit, and then also who's the other team that's really interested? There's one more team that was like really interested in D-Hop. I can't think of it. It's the Bears. The Giants are really interested. So it's going to be really interesting to see what ends up happening with D-Hop's situation. I think the Texans can try to jump in and try to sweep in and try to get D-Hop back in Houston. It's going to be interesting to see if he possibly comes back to Houston. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoy them. Our thoughts, and peace out.